The Denver spring market is officially not playing by the rules, and what I'm about to share with you are both statistics and stories that will explain why we are where we are and what both buyers and sellers should expect as we continue into 2026. If you're waiting for a better time to make a move, for rates to drop or prices to drop, you're probably playing a losing game. I'm Heather. I've been selling real estate in the Denver area for 7 years, and I also was a math teacher before, and so I really enjoy teaching people about the numbers. And I'm on the Denver Metro Association of Realtors Market Trends Committee. So I work with realtors to help them learn more about the market. I also am a part of the Diamond Club in the Carbon Collective, where the top realtors have conversations about what we're seeing in the market right now. And so I'm going to share with you what's actually happening both in the Denver market as well as the smaller segments of markets and why they are different in different areas. All right, so here's how things have shifted from last year. We typically see prices increasing, and you can see this graph January through June very consistently, and that's why we have these fluctuations of the prices throughout history. Prices go up as more buyers are jumping into the buyer pool during the months of March, April, and May, hoping for a closing sometime before June, before summer. And then prices tend to be relatively flat or pull back on appreciation, so literally depreciation during the months of June, July, and August. September and October, sometimes we'll see a little bit of a jump, and then of course we'll see the holiday slowing. But here's what's crazy. April of 2020 and April of 2026 are the only two Aprils in all of history that we have seen prices pull back. We had negative appreciation, so depreciation of 1.8% in April. When I talk about prices decreasing, what I really mean is that from the March closings to the April closings, prices drop. And that's not even the half of it, because 62% of sellers are offering concessions right off the bat. Sometimes they're even advertising concessions as a part of trying to attract the right buyer. A seller concession is where a buyer will say right off the bat, we will give you an extra $10,000 to buy down your interest rate. The other thing that's kind of crazy is how many new build communities are offering interest rate buy downs. And when I say interest rate buy downs, I mean that sometimes with a four handle. Yes, down into the fours. Now, the reason they can do that is because they have one lender that works with the entire company, and they can easily subsidize the cost. These builders know what's going on in this market, but sellers do not always know what's going on in this market. So very often a newer agent will allow a seller to price a home incorrectly. And that's, I think, one of the other reasons that we're seeing this flat appreciation here in the spring. What's interesting about this is that prices are actually not flat or down in all of the Denver metro region. So the Denver metro region consists of anywhere from, say, a little south of Castle Rock all the way up north to Boulder and Longmont. Those would typically be considered part of the Denver metro region. And many of those areas are also down in prices. For example, Castle Rock, Highlands Ranch, Aurora, all negative price appreciation, except Arvada and Parker. And I think it's super interesting that those two are the only ones that had actual price appreciation in the spring. I would say Parker is an incredibly desirable place to live. And the reason people really want to live in Parker is because it's new and it feels like a master planned community. So the shops are tall, the roads are built well, the parking lots are easy to get into. You feel comfortable when you go go shopping in Target. There's so many different things. It almost lives like its own little city. And the other reason that prices are increasing in the Parker area is because they actually decreased very significantly in Parker from December 2025 all the way through March. So Parker is peaking later than the rest of the Denver metro region. Prices are up 7.5% month over month in Parker, but that's because they were down from 775,000 in December to 700,000 in March. So many more of those affordable homes were selling in that area. And they've jumped back up, making up for all of that depreciation in Q1 of 2026. Now let's talk about Arvada. Arvada is amazing. And I think that one of the reasons that it is increasing in price as opposed to decreasing is that it's really locked in and there's not a lot more building going on. And a lot of the new builds in the area look like these 3-story homes where you have a garage and possibly a bedroom on the first floor, or maybe just a landing and your washer and dryer on the first floor. And then you go upstairs and there's a main open level, absolutely beautiful, usually open floor plan, brand new. And then the third floor has all of the bedrooms on it. And then there's a rooftop deck, usually with incredible views of the mountains and great sunsets. Absolutely gorgeous. Arvada is special because it is nestled right up to Golden, Lakewood. North Table Mountain is right next to there. An amazing hike called White Ranch, really difficult on a bike, really close to Arvada. And of course, great access to downtown Denver ski resorts, as well as Boulder, which is absolutely gorgeous. If you're interested in moving to the Denver area because you're coming for the lifestyle, then I'm your girl, because I race mountain bikes, I hike with my kids, we go paddleboarding, we love rivers, and I know all the best camping spots. So I put together this little Denver local secrets guide. So if you're interested in finding out more about the fun places to go, download it and I'll reach out. We can connect and maybe chat about some fun stuff too. So here we have sellers who are overpricing and having to do an average of 5% of a price reduction. I mean, just last week, 34% of sellers had to reduce their price. Days on market is actually not too bad. And when you look at month supply of inventory, we are actually in kind of a balanced market, although it doesn't feel like that if you're a seller. It feels a little bit more like it's a buyer's market right now. The current days on market for this exact week of May, which of course this number will change, but it's 17. And so I just want to tell a little story about how this feels if you are a seller. If median days on market is 17 and you have a realtor that's coaching you well on how to price your home for sale, then you should expect to know exactly how many showings you will receive each week, as well as how many showings you will get before an offer is accepted. So if you're a seller and you're coming in with your price too high, don't just be like, oh, hey, it's been a couple weeks, let's drop the price, right? I'll share more about that in my seller strategies at the end of this. Were homes overpriced to start? Yes. Are we seeing a significant drop in overall home values? No. Now, here's why I think this is crazy. Usually, supply and demand are the drivers of any market, so a basic economics class. As demand goes up, so do prices, because there's more competition. That's what happened in our peak appreciation markets of 2020 and 2021 and early 2022. Prices rose dramatically because interest rates were so low, so buyer demand was very high. Therefore, prices went up significantly. That's not the case right now. In fact, if you check out this graph, what you'll notice is there are so many houses for sale. I actually think it's very interesting that last year we had more houses for sale this month than we do now. And yet prices were still increasing. Now they peaked pretty early in 2025, and we quite possibly could have seen our peak here for 2026. But our pending data specifically shows that we have a muted buyer demand in the Denver area. And we have all of these sellers who have these very high expectations. And so that's where kind of this stagnation of the market comes into play, because buyers aren't just coming in wanting everything to be perfect and having unreasonable expectations. They're coming in and they're looking at affordability issues of their own. So check this out. I call it affordability fatigue. May of 2019, when prices hit about $400,000 compared to today, 7 years later, about $600,000. That's a 48% increase. And then you say, okay, well, maybe incomes have increased since then. Yeah, they have actually. And in fact, incomes have increased comparably about 48% also, with the median income a month hovering around $9,500. Yes, I know that sounds like a lot, especially if you're coming from the Midwest. But back in 2019, median income was $6,427 a month, and that's gross. What's different about this market is interest rates. So our interest rates back in 2019 were hovering around 5%, and now closer to 2.5, which means your monthly payment jumped around 75%. So somebody who was very comfortable with a monthly payment of around $1,800 now has a monthly payment that's closer to $3,000. This affects people who are moving here from out of state and are really having some sticker shock around this market. And this also affects people who already own homes, but they don't love their home, or they don't love where they live, or they're growing out of it and they need to make a move. Stick around, because I have a lot of strategy around how we can help you actually make the move and not feel so stuck. So we would expect that prices would be coming down, and they're not. They're flat. I think they're flat because Denver is an amazing place to live. I mean, we had more days over 80 degrees already this year, January, February, March, April, May, than I can remember any other time. Our weather is not playing by the rules, and neither is the real estate market. Okay, so I am going to separate the different sections of strategy, because depending on who you are, your strategy, of course, will be different. And I'd love to chat with you about your personal situation. I have a guide on how to buy and sell at the same time, and that will apply to you, of course, if you're moving out of state or if you need to make a move here in the Denver area. I'd be happy to have a personal conversation, but if you just want to check out the guide, feel free to download it here also. Okay, so our 3 types of strategy, we're going to have buyers specifically, buyers moving from out of state to the Denver market, buyers who are also sellers in the Denver market, and lastly, sellers. Buyers, I'm just going to tell you, you're in the best possible situation, and I want to work with you so bad because it's exciting, and as long as the numbers make sense for you and you can afford that payment that we talked about earlier, then you need to be buying a house, because you're going to get a discount. You're going to get a discount on seller concessions. And this is the moment when I want to talk through that chart specifically. Okay, so let's pretend you have an $800,000 property. You want to get a deal. $25,000 off of the price is what you suggested. Nope, I'm going to say absolutely not. And by the way, this information all comes from my preferred lender, the Ruth team, and I learn so much from them. They're happy to coach you on this. I'm not a lender. I know enough about math to be dangerous, but you should definitely have a lender coach you on this. So anyway, if interest rates are right around 6%, your monthly savings of a $25,000 price reduction is only about $140 a month on the payment, because the house doesn't just cost the price. It also costs what the interest rate is. So instead, here's the strategy. We're going to ask that seller to buy down your interest rate for you. It's going to cost them almost exactly the same amount of money. In this case, it's $24,000. But as the buyer, you're going to save $400 a month instead of $140. Using a seller concession is the absolute easiest way to make your monthly payment more manageable. And so if you're having sticker shock or you're concerned about that, you need to really sit down and drill into the numbers, because I'm not going to help you buy a house where you're house poor and then you can't go enjoy the Colorado lifestyle, right? You need to be able to buy a bike or a boat so we can hang out, do fun stuff. The other thing that I'm going to do for you as your buyer's agent is I am going to coach you on your negotiation strategy, and I'm also going to coach you on how to read the comps and read the agent so that you can make the right offer. The other thing is you have to be able to read what the data is showing about the comps so that you can make an appropriate offer. Like, for example, a lot of homes are still selling for above the list price. I know that's crazy, but homes that are priced right, staged well, updated, and in a fantastic location could possibly get an offer in a weekend. In fact, I just helped a client sell a property and we beat the median days on market. And I do believe it's because of the marketing and the staging that we were doing to help make sure the property got an offer that was acceptable to my clients. But as a buyer, you're not always going to know, was that agent a really stellar agent who was coaching their seller correctly? Or are they a newbie agent who let the seller lead the whole process and didn't give any suggestions, and now they're overpriced and we can get it for way less than the list price? How are you going to know that unless you hire an agent who can have those kinds of conversations? Okay, so let's jump into, if you are a buyer that is coming from a new market, if you are selling a home in another metro, first of all, I want you to know the contacts all over the globe who can help you sell the home, and then we can work together. There'll be the listing agent in your other state, and then I will be your buyer's agent. And by working together on the process, we can make the move as seamless for you as possible. So once you've explored the area and decided a couple of general areas you might want to live in Denver Metro, you should drill into the data. You should find out what is happening hyper locally in that specific community. And that's where I can pull all those stats for you, no problem. Then you'll review the contract and of course go house shopping. And that's a super fun part. I love doing that. And you'll get a feel for what makes sense for you. And then when you're ready to make an offer because you've already sold your other property or you're under contract on the other property, then you will know how much equity you're getting from your sale property, and you'll feel more comfortable about the negotiations on the newer property, so that when we make offers, you know exactly what your payment, or plus or minus $50, let's say, but you'll know very, very close on what your payment will be and what kind of updates you'll want to do to this newer home, if any. Next up, and this is actually one of my favorite things to do, is help people who purchased a home in the Denver area and they need to make a move to somewhere different or into a different type of house. But you're pretty much moving in the same market, which means it can be a wash for you if you're buying and selling at the same time, or at least within a few months in the Denver metro area. And I usually will have my clients moving anywhere between the exact same day or 30 days after they have sold their other property, or sometimes before they've sold their property. There's so many logistics to it. You could potentially sell your home first, move into an Airbnb so you know how much you're going to profit from it, or you could buy your first home and then sell your other home using either a bridge loan or just having a double mortgage. Now, of course, there's risks and benefits to both of these strategies, and I'm happy to go over them with you personally. Trusting what your realtor is saying about what the market is doing, because number one, if you are selling your house first, that's the hardest thing to do, because you're having to give those discounts and you're having to price it lower than you possibly think you should without knowing already that you're going to get those same discounts on the buy side. Trusting that market if you're both buying and selling at the same time. If you're making a purchase, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about, because you make the purchase first and then you're like, wow, I can't believe we got such a great deal. And then you feel a little bit more comfortable about selling, but you have to be financially qualified for that, which is why it's important to speak to a lender first. All right, finally, if you're selling in this market, my heart is with you, because this is very difficult, and usually there is something that's going on that's making you need to sell, or maybe you're excited and you're ready to move out of state to something more affordable. That's possible too, right? Or you have a job change. But as a seller, you're just going to have to know the facts, and you're going to have to hire a realtor that you trust, and you're going to have to do all of the things I just talked about. You're going to have to do staging. You're going to have to get it ready to go. You're going to have to clean it. You're going to have to paint it. If you don't do those things and your home isn't show ready on day one, you're going to linger on the market for way above the average, maybe 30, 60, 90 days on market. Some homes are even lingering way longer than that, which is, of course, why you need to hire a realtor who works full-time and is at the top of their absolute game. So I'm Heather O'Leary. I play, and I work all here in the Denver metro area, and I help people all the time who are just curious. So schedule a call with me or download one of my guides and let's chat, because this market really takes strategy, and you have to know what you're doing if you're going to make a move in 2026.